Hi everyone, grade 10th. Today we will start our first chapter, that is democratic politics, and its first chapter, power sharing. What is power sharing? What are its forms? And what are its advantages, disadvantages? Everything we are going to see in this chapter. Let me go with the overview. This chapter emphasizes on importance of power sharing, forms of power sharing, difficulties in front of power sharing, types of power sharing, and there are two case studies of Sri Lanka and Belgium. So we will go through this to understand better what is power sharing. If we go to definition, we can see that power sharing means the distribution of power among the organs of the government, such as the legislature, executive, and judiciary. Power sharing helps in achieving the stability of political order. In power sharing, power might even be shared at distinct level such as union, state, and local. These are called horizontal and vertical power sharing. Then there are two case studies. First is Sri Lanka. If you look at the Sri Lanka's case study, you can see that how diversities are there. Now, how to accommodate these diversities? If you look at, there is linguistic structure of Sri Lanka based on language, because there are ethnic groups. Ethnic groups can be considered as same language speaking, same culture group. It's called as ethnic group. So first ethnic group is on majority, that is Sinhala speaking. Sinhala, again, there are two communities. One is purely Buddhist, that is the Buddhism is their national and official religion of Sinhalas. Some are again purely Christians. If you look at the another community, that is minority one is Tamil speaking. In Tamil speaking, again we will have two types: Indian Tamils and Sri Lankan Tamils. Again, Indian Tamils and Sri Lankan Tamils, some are Hindu, some are Muslims, and some are Christians. So, in front of their policy makers, all these diversities were the big questions. How they handled this? Because Sri Lanka went ahead with majoritarian or majoritarianism policy, because Sri Lanka attained policy of majoritarianism, that is, the majority Sinhala speaking group made policies. They were the policy makers that were beneficiaries for the development of their culture, but they neglected minority ones, that is Tamil ones, both Indian Tamils and Lankan Tamils. In 1956, after independence, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, and this disregarded Tamils. A new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. So, Sinhala were preferred for universities and government jobs more, so that we can say this Tamil speaking community, which were in minority, they were neglected and they were suppressed under this Sinhala majority. What were the consequences for this? First, Tamils felt discrimination, opposed policy of majoritarianism. Then conflict arose between both Tamils and Sinhala community, demand of new independent Tamil state, that was Tamil Elam arose. Tamil militant groups were formed, for example LTTE, Liberation Tigers of Tamil Elam. This was followed by civil war in Sri Lanka. This conflict caused loss of lives, properties, etc. It created hindrances in development of Sri Lanka too. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees and many more lost their livelihoods. So these were the major causes, major effects after having such policy to accommodate diversities in Sri Lanka. Now we will see the another case study of Belgium. If you look at the Belgium's structure, you can see there are three ethnic groups. First, Dutch, 59%, and they live in Flemish region. Then 40% French people, they were in Wallonia region. Comparatively lesser in number, but they were richest community. Then 1% only German. Then their capital city, Brussels. How was the ethnic composition of it? We will see. 20% Dutch were there and 80% French were there in the capital city, Brussels. French minority were richer community. The Dutch was larger in number. There was conflict between two communities in 1950 and 1960s. The problem was more acute in capital as French were majority in capital but minority in the country. Now, these were the problems in front of policymakers. How had they handled? We will see. This was the accommodation policy of Belgium. First, the path taken by Belgium was different from Sri Lankan majoritarian policy. Between 1970 1993, they amended their constitution 4 times so as to take out arrangement that would enable everyone to live together with the same country. A power sharing arrangement was established for establishment of peace in the country. Constitution prescribes that the Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in the central government. Some special laws require the support of majority of members from each linguist group. Then no single community can make decision unilaterally. Means everybody will be there, everybody will be participated in decision making process. So no community will be neglected and no community will be more privileged. Many powers of central government have been given to state governments of the two regions of the country. The state governments are not subordinate to the central government. So these were the main things. Brussels has a separate government in which both the communities have equal representation. The French speaking people accepted equal representation in Brussels because the Dutch speaking community has accepted equal representation in the central government. Apart from this central and state government, there is a third kind of government, that was community government, which was elected by people belonging to the one language community, that is Dutch, French and German speaking. No matter where they live, this government has the power regarding cultural, educational and language related issues. So such broader way accommodation policy was accepted by Belgium, and very nicely they accommodated all the diversities in one country. Thank you.